The wind howled across the lonely countryside that night, carrying with it the sharp sting of winter's fury. Snow piled against fences, smothering rooftops, swallowing roads whole. In the middle of that endless white stood a small, crooked wooden house with a faint orange glow inside. Inside sat Martha, a 72-year-old widow who had spent more winters alone than she cared to count. Her husband had passed away nearly a decade ago, and her children, well, they were scattered, too busy chasing their own lives to notice the quiet emptiness of hers. The only sound in that little house was the crackle of firewood and the ticking of an old clock on the wall. Outside, the storm raged mercilessly, and inside a frail woman quietly wondered how many more winters her heart could take in silence. And then it came. A sound that didn't belong to the storm. A deep, guttural roar, like thunder rolling closer and closer. Martha rose slowly, her hands trembling, and peeked out her frosted window. Her eyes widened. Headlights cut through the snow. Shadows loomed large. 15 motorcycles, battered by ice and wind, crawled up her long driveway. Their riders looked like silhouettes from another world. Broad shoulders, leather jackets, heavy boots crunching in the snow. To any stranger, they would have looked dangerous. Martha's heart pounded. Fear clawed at her chest. What could men like that possibly want from an old woman alone in the middle of nowhere? And then a knock, heavy, echoing through the house. She froze. The second knock was louder. Finally, she opened the door, just a crack. Snow swirled in, biting her face. Standing before her was a man like a mountain. His beard was thick with frost, his jacket worn from years on the road. His voice, though rough, carried exhaustion more than menace. "Ma'am," he said, lowering his head respectfully, "I'm sorry to bother you. The storm's got us trapped. There's no gas station, no motel, nothing for miles. We don't want trouble, but could we shelter here? Just for the night?" Martha's instincts battled inside her. The world had taught her to be cautious, to lock her doors, to see men like these as threats. But another part of her whispered something else, something her late husband once told her. Never turn away a soul in need. Kindness costs little, but it changes everything. She opened the door wider. Her voice shook, but her words were steady. "Come in. No one should be left out in the cold." The bikers shuffled inside, stamping snow from their boots. The small cottage suddenly felt even smaller, filled with the smell of leather, gasoline, and frost. Martha hurried to pour tea, warm soup, slices of bread. She gave them what little she had, not caring if there'd be enough left for her tomorrow. At first, the men sat stiff, awkward. They didn't know what to do with the delicate teacups in their scarred hands. But slowly, warmth spread, not just from the fire, but from Martha herself. One of the men noticed her firewood pile was nearly gone. Without asking, he pulled on his jacket, stepped into the storm, and returned with an armful of wood. Another fixed the door hinge that had squeaked for years. They weren't just guests anymore. They were trying to give back. The leader, Jack, noticed an old photograph on the mantel. A young soldier in uniform, Martha's husband. He asked quietly about him, and Martha's eyes softened as she told stories of the man she had loved, the man she had lost. Jack listened intently, his own eyes misting. He admitted he was a veteran too, and that many of his brothers on the road were men who had been discarded by society, carrying scars no one could see. Broken families, lost jobs, empty futures. For hours they talked, laughed, shared pain and secrets they hadn't spoken in years. These men, seen by the world as misfits, troublemakers, even outlaws, were, in truth, men with hearts that had simply been hardened by life's cruelty. And Martha became something none of them expected. A mother figure, gentle, patient, listening. As the storm eased into silence, the bikers thanked her. They promised they would never forget the night an old lady opened her door to 15 strangers and treated them like sons. At dawn, they roared away, disappearing down the snowy road. Martha stood in her doorway, watching them fade into the horizon. The house was quiet again. She should have felt alone, but her heart was strangely full. She thought the story ended there. But it hadn't even begun. That afternoon, the sound returned. Not 15 engines this time, but dozens. Dozens upon dozens. The ground trembled. Martha rushed to her window and gasped. 100 motorcycles lined her street, stretching further than her eyes could see. Word had spread. The men she had sheltered told their brothers, their entire biker family. They had come from every corner of the state, braving the storm to see for themselves the woman they now called the angel of the road. Martha stepped outside, tears freezing on her cheeks. The bikers removed their helmets one by one, men she had never met, bowing their heads in respect. Then Jack stepped forward, holding something in his calloused hands. A wooden plaque, carefully carved. It read, "To Martha, mother of the forgotten. You opened your home. You gave us hope. You are family." In that moment, Martha's loneliness shattered. She wasn't just a widow in a small house anymore. She was the mother of 100 men who would never let her feel alone again. The roar of their engines was no longer frightening. It was a symphony of loyalty, of gratitude, of love. And Martha, she smiled for the first time in years, whispering to the sky, "I'm not alone anymore." Her kindness on a single stormy night didn't just save 15 men from the cold. It gave 100 men a home for their hearts. In a world that so often teaches us to fear strangers, Martha chose compassion, and it changed everything. Remember this. Even the smallest act of kindness can echo louder than 100 engines. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe, because kindness, when shared, can change the world.